Feel free to look on the Onyx Path website for more details as they become available. That being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Uh, Today is Saturday, August 14th, 2021. What have you guys been doing over the last 5 days? Who wants to go first?
I can. So, day one, I decided to do something really important and go track down the hacker lady from the Royal Flush board of directors, just to let her know about the meeting and make sure she knows she needs to be there. I found her at a cabin at the edge of the Lost Vegas pre-holds territory, and she wouldn't open the door, but she did take the message and swore to be there. Then I met with Jack, made sure he was healed up okay, and he's about as good as could be. Not much more to say there. He's Jack and kind of quiet. Um, I spent the next couple of days during my downtimes training Bob on things like etiquette and how to serve drinks, and he took to it like a natural. Except for bowing, he has a hard time bowing because apparently it is hard to bow when you only just learned to walk. Um, but he's great at carrying a plate. And for my last downtime, I asked for Moggins' help arranging this whole meeting, making sure that there was food, which everyone else will be assisting with as well, making sure that there's people around, etc. And Moggins is hesitant, but he agrees to help after a little prodding.
Alrighty, who's next?
I'll happily go. The first thing I did, well, after the end of last session, we found ourselves with the entire board of directors hanging out at the Warren, barring two specific members, one of whom was already mentioned. I made sure our guests were comfortable, arranged the Warren for their needs, asked questions about what went down when down, and tried to figure out what had happened. Um, what they told us is that the tensions had been getting pretty bad since Great Gatsby made his offer, and on the night of the hunt, it boiled over. Fighting had broken out, and the arrival of the bookbinders had turned it from a riot to a full-on insurrection. So after that, I tracked down the director of human resources, the only other person that we hadn't run into yet, and convince them to show up for the meeting. I want to make sure that everybody's there so nobody can say that like a meeting and decisions were made without them present. This needs to be final if we can make it, or at least it has to go badly because it was going to go badly. Um, I spent day 3 and 5 prepping for the meeting. I set out tables and chairs, arranged a very carefully set up seating chart to avoid obvious conflicts, worked on a menu for the meeting with some help from Kit, who we'll go into for a second, and did the cooking. And on day 4, I spent some time training Bob on making drinks. Bob is doing his best, but unfortunately, paws are not super good for handling the various drinkware, and he was having a little bit of trouble with the jigglers.
All right, Kit.
Alrighty. So let's see here. So day one, spoke to some of the autumn court members, see if we can get some idea about doing a some kind of temporary contract to ensure that peace is kept during the meeting. Day two, I went down to the Goblin Market, got some goblin fruit, so that we could um, for as part of the dinner here, and also hired a goblin butcher And then day 3, got the cow slaughtered and cut up into nice steaks, which various have some pretty nice benefits to them. Day 4, started marinating the steak in marinade made from the goblin fruit. And on day 5, I talked to Kurt to see what happened with the split and why all that went down. Basically, long story short, the um, things weren't as equitable. Basically, if you weren't a high-ranking member of one of the courts, you were having a bad time, and because of that, there was a split, and the royal flush went off and did their own thing. There's been a bit of bad blood since then, the bookbinders didn't help. Thankfully, but we're hoping to get everybody back together.
Alrighty, now that we're through with that, let's go ahead and jump on in. So it's Saturday, August 14th, 2021. Where are you right now and what are you doing?
I'm doing the last minute preparations in the Warren for the meeting, waiting for the dignitaries to arrive.
Everyone else?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the same. Um, think I'm I think I'm going to be focused more on the um, back room type side of things, like making sure there's enough food and all that to go around, and um, make sure that everyone's RSVP'd, all that stuff.
And Bob and I are working the trod, making sure everyone can get through to the hollow.
All right. So, seeing as you've been playing host to most of the board for the last week or so, they are, of course, already there. Jack has found his seat at the table, looking fairly uneasy, but trying to stay very calm. The other remaining members of the board, the director of operations, Id Sinister, who had been uh, a working Id Sinister, the director of operations at Royal Flush. Sorry, my brain went out the door for a moment there. Is working with a notebook, trying to workshop ideas with a few of the other directors. It seems like the air is tense in here. People don't seem to believe things are going to be going well based on what you can hear them saying to each other and the general vibe of discussion.
I do my best to promote a bit of hope and cheer, trying to get us in the best state possible for getting into the meeting on. Would you accept a presence plus socialize on that one?
Sure.
All right, and let me just triple check something. I'm pretty sure my shiny new during this last break, I ended up advancing my spring mantle all the way up to full with some of the XP I had gained. Just need to find it real quick because, of course, I forgot to write everything down. I'm super smart. Okay. Okay, you know what?
I think it was around about 118 on page 118.
Thank you. All right, so regardless, I'm just gonna make the rolls and find it later because I'm not going to delay the game because I'm not at keeping proper notes. All right. So presence of 4 and socialize of 2, and I'm wearing fancy clothes, so that gives us a 9. All right, 2 successes.
All right. Elliot's assurances does seem to calm people down a bit, but not much more than that. Jack gives Elliot a pained look and just says shortly that that Elliot just doesn't understand what happened between Royal Flush and Lost Vegas.
From all reports, it had a lot to do with a couple of rulers who are long gone. But I know there is at least one thing that I don't know anything about, because all 3 of the people involved are being very tight-lipped about it. But I don't think I'm going to suddenly get you to talk now. So I'll deal with whatever happens at table.
Jack breaks off the conversation abruptly.
I get back
So
to
it-
polishing dishware.
All right. Anyone else have anything to do?
I'm chattering with Will on the walk up.
The Las Vegas Monarchs make their way through the through the direction they've been given to the Warren. Remind me, did you request they come alone?
No.
So I know that so I don't believe we requested that um, that they basically it's each of the monarchs, and then I believe we had a +1 for each court.
So
Um,
neither is particularly outnumbering the other.
exactly, and that does not include Moggins. Moggins is a he is
He's
here
here to
kind of
facilitate the meeting. He's with us. He's our +1.
also he kind of represents the people who haven't chosen a court yet.
Okay. In that case, someone give me a chance die roll.
I will. Nine.
All right. Each of the monarchs arrives with one of their knights as a bodyguard. Since Kenzie had decided to chat with Will, Will stops on the way in for some polite chatter. Towards the end of the chat, he leans in and tells Kinsey, if you think things are going south, I would recommend that you be near the door. And if you have anything fireproof, put it on. He gives Kinsey a link.
Fun.
Okay.
So the monarchs come in, There is a conspicuous lack of anyone from Spring except Moggins. The three monarchs sit at their designated chairs at the table, glowering as hard as they can at the royal flush board. As it is summer, Leo claps his hands together and speaks first. So, this is the chance that our mutual friends who own this hollow have requested. Tell us, why shouldn't we kill you all now?
Before the meeting begins, as I am hosting this evening, you are all guests within my home. Over the course of the time we have been preparing this, I have prepared a small oath for the sake of this evening. Anybody who is not interested in binding themselves to the oath for the purposes of this meeting is welcome to leave instead. However, I feel that it is most likely in everyone's interest to go through with this as peacefully as possible. In mechanical terms, we've got a quick oath that requires everyone, while they are guests within our home, to not to do violence to anyone else within this home. Everyone's to keep to words and basically keep the peace until the meeting has concluded. I can
24 up to 24 hours. They're not able to do violence unto anybody participating in the meeting or on the vicinity for the next 24 hours after the end of the meeting.
The suggestion seems to take everyone aback. Jack seems a little relieved, but Leo immediately leans forward. Why would you take their side? Lost Vegas will swear no such oath to the traitors of Royal Flush.
The traitors of Royal Flush are all dead. These guys were bound up by the same people that we slaughtered in that room. All of these people fought those same people on the same night. So, yes, we did not wish to protect the traitors of Royal Flush. I believe you saw us killing them alongside you the other night. These are those who wished for peace.
There is no more casino. What is left sits in front of us. There's no more Royal Flush.
What we have is a path forward that we all need to find.
Agatha nods and says, those are wise words. I'm willing to swear your oath. After all, it's important to be forgiving to the fools who failed.
I see we're in. Leo, I would not call upon a favor like this in any other circumstance, but it is only 24 hours. Do you think they could get away from you in 24 hours? If you truly wish them dead, would that be long enough to escape you?
The mane of the Beast King is frazzled with his rage, and you can feel the heat of the summer sun coming off of him. But he clenches his teeth and sits down. Fine, Elliot, he says. You don't realize what you're asking, though.
That's why we're here.
One of the things we are here is to figure out if the same grudges that formed this are still here. After all, at least 2 of those responsible are long dead. Dead before I even arrived here. And after all, we only have one enemy. Truly. I gesture vaguely upward as if to Arcadia.
Jack clasps his hands and says, do the 3 of you truly hate us that badly just because we wanted to live freely?
Can I take a quick question out of character. Who is here as Leo's second? Is it Clara?
No, it's one of the knights. One of the changelings from the Lions Pride Motorcycle Club.
Okay, and which two nobles are here from Spring?
They didn't bring nobles; they brought knights to protect them in a fight.
So nobody is here from Spring.
Yeah, nobody is here from Spring. There is no Spring monarch, so there's no one that's there's no one who is able to speak for them.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Before we get into this,
I guess that leaves you, Will. Will you sit at our table?
Will is silent for a moment, as if making a few connections. After a moment, he nods and says, "I'll be willing to swear to the oath, as long as the Board of Royal Flush goes first."
Absolutely. Any of the Board of Royal Flush who will not likewise make this oath may take their leave with my blessings. But after this meeting begins, I do not wish any not forsworn within these walls. I turn to the board, which I assume the last two members have arrived?
Yes, Anise Lovelace and Amber Van Cleef arrived previously.
Excellent. I turn to them. Is there any among you who will not accept these terms to sit at the table?
Jack nods immediately and says that he'll accept the oath. And one by one, the rest of the board does as well.
All right. With that, we have the scene where everyone does the oath, presumably starting with the board and then following with the monarchs, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And I, as host, swear to these terms as well.
Yep. Same.
Same. Bob does too.
As does Moggins, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With that, I suppose let's start with a quick summary of why we are here. 5 nights ago, those working with the bookbinders and those terrified by their efforts were driven to violence in an attempt to slaughter myself and 2 others, or at least deliver us back to Arcadia. Everyone responsible for those efforts is dead. I've either set them ablaze myself, or they were slaughtered inside the halls of the 4 Seasons. I think we are all witness to this. If there are any remaining members of the bookbinders, they are few, far between, scattered, and likely heavily wounded. I doubt that any is in a position to do much, especially after their leadership died a week before. We have tracked down as many of them as we could, and there are no remaining unidentified leadership positions within the bookbinders, except, of course, Oliver Oakhart. We're working on that one. With that in mind, significant damage was done to the building housing the free company Royal Flush, and I doubt they're in a position or in a membership to continue. As such, for the safety of all involved, not just those present here, we must find a way to make sure that every changeling within this city who swears an oath of vengeance against Arcadia will be safe tonight. Let us find a path forward.
Yeah.
Agatha nods and smiles. As I agree, as the most senior queen here, I believe we must try to find a peaceful solution. What I would say is that if the members of the board for Royal Flush are willing to swear not to harm anyone, we will peacefully allow them and all other members of Royal Flush to leave Lost Vegas after taking an oath of exile.
Question, Agatha. When you
Yes.
say a oath to not hurt anyone, is that verbatim? Or are you paraphrasing?
Paraphrasing here, yes.
Just making sure. Just making sure.
But I believe it is quite generous for us to allow the members of the late Free Company to leave Las Vegas safely, so long as they promise never to return.
I think we'd be doing ourselves a big disservice doing that.
What about integration?
Yeah.
And
Not only do they have, just from a purely practical sense, okay, pragmatic as hell, they have a ton of connections. They got a lot of manpower. If they were to be integrated into the Freehold, it would be a massive boon for every port.
additionally, I believe the original inciting incident responsible for the Free Company's exit from the courts has to do with two members of the courts who are no longer with us, a previous monarch, and I believe... Sorry, you were the one who did the most research into this.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Spring Monarch. That was part of the problem.
Neither
If
of
I'm
whom
remembering
are
correctly.
neither of whom are present any longer. Therefore, might it just be possible for us to look into solutions of reuniting these once broken home?
Will chuckles briefly to himself as Agatha gravely shakes her head. There is no way we could allow them to reincorporate into Las Vegas. They carry within them the seeds of a poisonous ideology.
What ideology is that?
Democracy.
I mean, welcome. I believe most of us took a civics class, Agatha.
We are not humans. Do not pretend that you are still a human, Elliot McCoy.
But we're still people.
I'm just
No,
saying.
we are things of the Fae. That's why these 7 fools assembled have lost everything they've ever worked for. They believed in the humanity of changelings. We do not have humanity anymore, and as such, we must be led by the wise and the powerful.
I think I'd like to hear from the others.
Are we not stronger when we're united?
No.
So shouldn't...
My question, Agatha. If it is wisdom and power that would determine one's placement here, why do we not yet have a monarch in spring?
The director of operations raises his head and smiles. He looks very much like a classical devil, red skin and horns. Id Sinister smiles and speaks. Yes, Mr. McCoy is correct. There is an empty seat for a spring monarch. Ever since King Noct was taken, Las Vegas's social programs have begun to fall apart. This has been driving changelings to defect in droves because they need food, they need shelter, they need work. Royal Flush could provide those, and you used to be able to provide those in a timely fashion. The failure of your obsolete ideology is what has led to the rise of Royal Flush.
Before we continue on those harsh words, the point I was making was simply the matter that was holding it up was a vote, Agatha. A vote that has not concluded. At the heart of this, while perhaps not a democracy, the voting members determine the ruler, even here.
Agatha smiles and says, the spring court may carry themselves as they please. I have no power over them, but if I did, I would make them change the way they handle secession.
Well, excellent. It seems that we have, in fact, discovered that there are, within the court systems, different ways of running things. And yet we are all able to cooperate and have beaten mighty foes, even in this recent time. The combination of these various ideas, the strength of summer, the cooperation of spring, the might and wisdom of autumn, and the secrecy and the willingness to do what must be done, what is necessary of winter, all these things are what brought us together and what allowed us to defeat those who wished us harm. Many hands carry us forward. If these people are willing to swear to a court and hold up the oath, what say they couldn't be of assistance to you? I know there are at least a few here who were of great assistance to Autumn in the past.
I know of at least one person from the free company that would be of great use at assisting the Jack Catch at the very least.
For example, most of the work that we've done was due to the help of the Courser, who unfortunately was not able to be present. However, if you wish their thoughts on the matter, I'd be happy to contact them and bring them in, swearing accordingly. I know people on both the Free Company and the Freehold who owe their lives to the Courser, just as many owe their lives to the Jack Ketch of our Freehold.
Jack nodded and said, again, I have to agree. There were many reasons that I founded the Royal Flesh Free Company, and the tyrannies of the previous summer and winter monarchs were definitely a part of it, as was, in particular, my experience of Linus's predecessor and her large due fees. Many of us could not pay $5,000 a month. It would be hard for a mortal to do that. Even when it was offered to be paid in goods or services instead of money.
I like to think that I'm doing fairly well for myself, but I would have difficulty keeping home and hearth together with those numbers. And I have two friends who are relying on my economic stability, who I like to think have contributed plenty to their associated courts. We are all stronger together.
Agatha sneered and says, the previous system of dues, which has since been relaxed, was created in order to make tortures do what was necessary for the freehold.
And yet,
changelings are fey creatures. We are not like humans. We do not have the sense God gave a rabbit. No offense meant.
Of course.
That's the thing, though. Yeah, we're not human, but we still have quite a bit of it still left in us. We are not like our keepers.
Unfortunately, I think you are far too optimistic. You may have a lot of drive, Kit, but most changelings need the feeling of the iron fist on their back before they'll do what needs to be done for themselves. Otherwise, they'll run like scared mice.
Then why were the dues relaxed if they were so effective?
Then why don't we teach them? You don't lead a horse to water and then drown it if it doesn't drink. You don't string up rabbits and watch them run. None of those made sense, but neither does this.
I suppose what my compatriots are trying to say is we are currently in a position where the conflicts that created the original division are long since resolved. Nobody believes that what was done at that time is the correct thing to do, and if I don't out any present would suggest returning to those days. Those who caused the problem, one is two monarchs ago, another long deposed. And yet, here we are, living a war they started. Let us end this violence. Everyone who wished to cause harm to their fellow changeling is dead. And if it is because we are Fey things, then let us use what makes us Fey to keep you safe. Let us find an oath that you would see acceptable in exchange for their return, something that would hold them to the conduct you believe appropriate, and we'll negotiate those terms right here at table. Isn't your wisdom sufficient to produce something that would guide them along the proper path?
The Director of Human Resources, Amber Van Cleef, speaks up. She is a tall woman with sparkling blonde hair, studded with amber. Her own flesh is studded here and there with random gemstones, sort of like scales. She speaks up and says, I do agree that I believe that there's a path forward for us. But my concern has always been, like he just brought up, the dues system has been relaxed. But that was specifically, as at least my personal belief, due to the threat of royal flesh. Am I incorrect? If we were to go become part of Lost Vegas again, without a rival society for changelings to join, what's to stop the seasonal tyrants to returning to their old ways?
A fair question. Why did we stop the tithing system? I'm sure that somebody who was here before me could tell.
Agatha looks to have become extraordinarily angry and is not speaking. Leo, on the other hand, has calmed down significantly. Will leans forward, smiling, and says, Amber's correct. That's exactly why the tithing system was removed.
Well then.
Fear.
Negotiations then. Because there is nothing better here than the possibility of resolving everyone's concerns. Imagine the power that we could have available as a united freehold, with all the strengths that each of us has built in our conflict, united behind one banner. We would have the funds that Jack has built. We would have the support that all of the board has built to continue supporting all these changelings. And of course, the wisdom and might of the Freehold with brand new members, all seeking one way forward: the defeat of those who would harm us. A thing I believe we are all interested in. I don't think anyone's particularly keen on allowing Oliver Oakhart and his ilk to do as they please.
Maybe we should eat. Kenzie's stomach grumbles loudly.
Ah, yes, my apologies. We did intend to serve dinner as well, and, well, I think we've got the basics on the table. Moggins, I believe you brought a few of your compatriots to assist with this evening. Would you mind helping me bring out the tables? I'll pour the drinks.
Moggins nods and goes to bring back a small group of Las Vegas Grimalkins to serve the food.
I am going to be throwing a... Would you accept crafts plus expression to be just doing my best to put some cheer back into the air after all this tension?
Sure.
All right, so this is me being, so present plus expression, juggling. I'm going to hopefully get everybody in a slightly better mood. And I have been talking an awful lot, guys. I'm super sorry. Want to take this moment to talk to your various friends and see if we can try and get everybody in a direct path forward?
So.
Wow.
So,
okay, that's not okay.
It's still a success.
Fair enough.
I mean, feel free to re-roll if you think you can get it exceptional.
I also forgot to put my clothes on for that one, so I'm gonna do that.
So while you're doing that, so I know y'all know me as someone who does a lot of violence. But at the end of the day, I'm a rancher in this, and I have sorry, not the best words. Long story short, one of my thistle cows has been butchered up, and we got some great steak for y'all. Okay. Also, I do have a bit of their milk if you guys want to try some, get a little bit of your glamour back too.
I take a glass and swirl around. You always manage to surprise me with new things. It's amazing what we're capable of when we're applying those talents of yours to a peaceful effort.
Yep. And I was hoping that if things go well tonight, that I could negotiate with Moggins about providing some of these steaks and maybe some bit of this milk for the nights leading to the people who are going to be fighting leading up to the front nights.
Get everybody in a proper fighting mood.
Yeah. Steaks are nice and hearty.
Is Lucerne here?
No, you said that they could only bring that only the monarchs could bring a +1, and they did.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to keep the numbers pretty much balanced.
I go to chat with Will really quick, just to see kind of where he's at temperature-wise.
All right, well, go ahead. Will is gently eating his food after waiting around to make sure that the members of the board and one of you have taken a bite first.
I, by the way, set my glass almost immediately and took a bite and took a sip right at the beginning to ease such concerns.
Yeah, Kenzie's wandering around with her plate, nomming off of it.
Right. Will looks up and nods. So is this going like you thought it would?
Wow. Nope. But yeah, but also no. But yeah, kinda.
Well, I will say it's going beyond my expectations. I thought Leah would have killed someone by now.
Hey, we thought ahead. So did I.
Will nodded and said, "It looks like I won't be having to burn down your lovely home here."
Appreciate that. Bob would be really sad. Me too. So, where do you stand with tithing? Because I don't think I make $5,000 a month.
The Winter Court used to have a different system.
Am I allowed to ask?
I'll tell you if you really want to know. Do you? Think carefully.
Kenzie bites her tongue and thinks carefully and then still says yes.
He looks up at you and smiles. The Winter Queen before me had a similar role in the city, but she believed that our she believed that our control should be of various crime in the city should be a little more overt and a little more firm. Once a month, if you wanted to remain in the Winter Court, you were expected to make sure that control stayed direct and firm. Regardless of your role in the Winter Court, maybe you could say, give someone a nightmare to let them know they needed to pay your protection. Or more directly, maybe you should just bring back someone's head if they'd been disloyal.
Oh, so the horse head style. Got it.
Well, there was a reason no one liked her, and there was a reason that I shot her.
Wait, you did personally? That's fucking cool.
We are Winter. We do what must be done. She wasn't the first traitor I've shot, and she won't be the last. Will smiles and says, "Isn't that right, Jack?" Jack doesn't respond.
All right, let's just get this out in the open. What the hell happened with the fucking coterie? Let's just get that out there right now.
I assume you meant to say Motley.
Yeah, my apologies. Sorry.
Playing too much vampire?
Yeah. Sorry. What happened? What happened with that fucking Motley, guys? Like, that's affecting how you're viewing the situation. Let's get it in the open.
Clearly, everyone else knows.
Will laughed and said, "So you haven't told them yet, Jack. You've been trying to win their loyalty, but you've been keeping this a secret. Well, I didn't mean to keep it a secret. When Jack of Hearts declared that he was going to betray Lost Vegas, I shot him. It wasn't fatal, unfortunately.
Well,
Fair enough.
you fulfilled your promise. You said that you made a promise that you shoot traitors. You did. You're even. Move on.
And I think that if there wasn't a way forward between the two of you, at least one of you would have thought not to sit at this table.
Jack looks up and he looks like he's doing his best to maintain control. I want you to know, Will, that I don't carry a grudge. Will shrugs and says, frankly, Jack, I don't care. You deserved it, and I would do it again.
Yep. And now your friend is asking for help.
Will leans forward. But I don't think I have any friends here. I have colleagues. I have courtiers. But looking around, and here he makes a very theatrical looking around motion, I don't see any friends.
Kenzie waves.
So what you're saying
Well,
is that you formed a motley with lightly then. You took that oath lightly.
Will frown and says, if I took it lightly, I wouldn't bear the oathbreaker mark to this day.
well,
But I do not feel that I deserve it. And while I may still be bound as part of the motley, well, it was the right price to pay.
well, it seems everybody got their fair share from that. A bullet in Jack, and a mark that you bear. Do you still wish him dead, Will?
Jack nods and says, he's right. I have a scar, and you have a different kind of scar. Isn't that enough? Can't we put it behind us? Will shrugs. Honestly, I don't hold anything against you, Jack. But you ran royal flush into the ground. You are rife with traitors, even if the rumors that you were a bookbinder yourself weren't true. I think the best thing we can do for the safety of Lost Vegas is to kill every one of you. Hey, good steak though, huh?
I'm glad you're enjoying the steak. I'm always pleased when people are enjoying my work.
Kenzie, having heard Will's statement and knowing now where he stands, heads over to chat with Leo.
Leo seems to be completely absorbed in his plate. He has a very uncharacteristic, thoughtful expression on, and is slumped into his chair.
You okay, man?
He looks up and sighs. When I came here, I wanted revenge, and I wanted war. But I'm not so sure. Some of them bring up some very good points. The old Winter Queen was a monster. And the Summer King that I succeeded wasn't much better. Linus's predecessor, may God rest his soul if he isn't rotting in Arcadia, was quite possibly the most corrupt person I've ever seen in my life. We outnumber them 3-1, and now maybe 5-1. I don't know what to think anymore. Lindsay?
Do you want to know what I think?
Sure.
I think that every man sitting in this room is a better man than the one that came before. I think that we don't have to live the way y'all used to live. I think that all of you are capable of making decisions that cause the least amount of harm and the greatest amount of good. I think that things have changed, and making choices based on the way things used to be is backwards. Arcadia is stuck in a rut, but we're not. We keep moving forward. And we have to keep moving forward. We have to deal with the conditions on the ground, not the conditions we remember. And I think you're right.
He shrugs. Do they really want to be let back in, though? They don't exactly seem to trust us any more than we trust them.
We could ask. That's all we can do. If I was to say, hey, do you guys even want in, or do you want the chance at exile, as Autumn so nicely suggested, would we be able to let them choose? Is that a thing that anyone would be amenable to?
Leo sighs. Kinsey, you haven't been around very long, but exile is basically a nicer death sentence. Once you're beyond the realms of a freehold bargain, it's open season on you for any of the Fae, any loyalists they come across, even some other stranger creatures. I've heard that in some places in the world, vampires like to catch changelings, and they say that we taste better.
Vampires are real too?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised too. But my point is that Agatha was basically suggesting that we kill them all. Well, just more polite.
Gotcha. Well,
I have a question.
For me or NPC?
In character.
All right, shoot.
Since they left, have they taken any hostile action against the Freehold?
Are you talking to Leo?
In general. And I'm not talking about
Why don't you
bookbinders.
ask one of the...
What I'm asking is, who are you talking to?
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna ask Leo. Since they left the Freehold, has there been any concrete hostile action between the Free Company and the Freehold? And I'm not talking bookbinders. Someone was found acting in under the guidance of leadership from either side against the other. Bookbinders are
Well,
bookbinders. They're their own thing.
well, no, nothing provable, just the occasional fight here or there.
That's to be expected. And honestly, fight here and there, perfectly healthy. But actual like subversion of people's efforts, destruction of property, assassinations. I don't know. So basically, what I'm seeing is there was a horrible situation where where people were abusing their power, and some of the members of the Freehold saw that they were in that there was no action being taken to rectify this, so they stepped away. That's it. Anybody anybody would do that.
Leo lifts a claw to scratch at his mane and says, I can't argue with that, but a freehold oath is supposed to be forever. They made a promise and then they went back on it just because they thought they weren't being treated right.
No. They knew the consequences of what they were doing. Imagine how far they had to be pushed where breaking that oath was not as bad as staying in their bodies.
The freehold is supposed to offer protection to its members, not exploit them.
Leo goes quiet. Okay, maybe you have a point.
I've been trying to stay out, but I have to be walking past here with a glass at this moment. I refill Leo's glass and say, I always remember you as the guy who got on a motorcycle and came to save me, not as the guy who expected any special servitude from me or mine. You showed up for me. That's what we're here for. I want to make sure everybody's showing up.
Leo frowns and says, but that's different. You guys are personal friends because you brought back my wife.
You saying you wouldn't have come to rescue any of your other courtiers? You get a call from some summer courtier, you wouldn't send someone to save them?
Sending someone, sure. Maybe not showing up personally.
You get me, though. You do something to help them. Maybe you wouldn't show up all white knight on your noble steed, but we're all here to help each other. That's the one thing I've always loved about summer. I just don't think I had the muscles to be particularly helpful in the court. The glass flexes kind of pathetically, and I got a bit of a glass jaw too.
Leo goes quiet again. Fair point, and well made.
Could I borrow
At this
you, Kit?
point, Go ahead.
I escort Kit away from the table if he's willing.
Yep. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna leave Leo to his meal while I go ask Jack that very important question.
Hey, Kit. So, we have a big problem.
And what's up?
There's only one person who spent a lot of time talking to Agatha here,
Mhm.
and it's not me. So I guess the real question here is, do you think that you'd be willing to come feel that one out? Because I don't think Will's going to be talked into much of anything tonight.
Agatha's gonna be a hard sell, but I'll do what I can.
I just figure you can get me in at the table. Between the two of us, maybe we can get somewhere. It's better than nothing.
Yeah, we'll see if I can get a foot in.
All right, first let's go with Kenzie's conversation with Jack. Jack is having a hushed conversation with several members of the board when Kenzie shows up.
Can I hear any of it on my way over?
The basic gist of what you can hear is that so far, one queen is called for exile, and 2 kings have called for death. So maybe they should be willing to play less hardball. Jack and Onyx seem to be the two who are arguing most strongly for keeping a hardline stance.
Hey,
Phoebe,
Jack.
the director of Inhuman Resources, is currently not involved in that conversation.
Hey, Jack. How's it going?
Jack nods as Kenzie arrives. Well, thank you for trying, he says, but things don't appear to be going well.
Oh, you're not only seeing half the story. Question for you. Do you think, given the chance, your members would even want to come back to Lost Vegas?
Jack looks around at the other members of the board. Yes, I do. I'm just unsure whether that's a good idea. What I would ideally like, he sighs and says, it's true that the casino is basically wrecked and that about half of our membership is gone. But we can rebuild. What I would really, truly like is a peaceful shot at coexistence. I appreciate that the monarchs of Las Vegas have moved away from the tyranny of their predecessors or even their past selves, he says, shooting a look towards Agatha. But we aren't in Arcadia. We shouldn't be living under lords and ladies who claim absolute authority over us. I believe that to the bottom of my heart. And I don't want to get on my knees and beg someone who calls themselves nobility to let me back in to serve them. He sighs and says, personally, I'd rather go back to Arcadia.
Don't you think you should allow your members to choose for themselves? That's what you're all about, right?
That's what we've been discussing, he says.
I think I can broker a way for you guys to rejoin if you want to. But it's going to take some work, and it's going to take... It's going to take work. And it's going to take some acquiescence on your part. And I know that you don't want to rejoin. But we're short a monarch already. We don't have anyone here from Spring except Moggins and Elliot. And Elliot, I think, is one of the newest people in Spring. So we don't have anyone there to speak for them. But the three we do have, they're different people. Maybe we can move forward in a new direction.
Can you give me a manipulation plus persuasion roll, please?
And would you like to borrow mine for the evening? It would be helpful if you unmuted yourself.
Yes, I would love that.
All right, my persuasion is +4. Your manipulation is probably better than mine.
Well, that's
3
a success.
successes, which do I get Jeff's seeming bonus of 3 successes being an exceptional?
Mine's for alcohol, so unless you're making alcohol right now, I don't think that's going to work.
But they're all drinking it.
It's specifically for crafting alcohol.
Gotcha.
Well, crafting consumables made of Fey products. I could just as easily get it on making a steak or a potion or alcohol or anything made of Fey products that's consumable. Hey there. I see a hydrate I may have missed earlier. Thank you, Rose.
Thank you, Rose.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Jack breathes a sigh and says, that would probably be for the best.
All right, let me see what strings I can pull.
At this point, the director of technology, the one that you had taken a visit to, looks up towards you. She's a middle-aged woman. She has sticks and leaves in her hair and a long hooked nose upon which she has a pair of those blue light glasses. Unlike everybody else, she doesn't seem to have bothered to dress especially well for this evening. She's wearing a pair of pajama pants and a sweatshirt with a bathrobe over it, with twigs and leaves being stuck here and there across all of them. She grins and says, "You're probably right, girl, if what people want is survival. But what Jack brought us was freedom. I don't believe there's any way for us to reconcile with Las Vegas. Personally, I believe we should take the exile."
Well, if I broker a good enough plan, You'll be able to choose that for yourself and not condemn everyone else to it.
She grins. So give up your freedom if you want to live. How very royal of you.
Give up your life if you want to remain as you are, without a home.
If the royals here had any human decency, they would go with Jack's plan and allow us to rebuild.
I feel like it might just be the twigs in your hair, but you're coming across as highly unflexible.
She smiles and says, again, I followed Jack out because I believed in freedom. And I don't believe that I will have that if I go back to Las Vegas.
Freedom to what?
To live as I choose without a lord, a monarch, telling me what I must and must not do.
So you mean the very contracts that we hold with the seasons?
In a way, yes. Our bargain with Lady Luck is far less restrictive.
Let me go see what I can do about the other bit. I don't feel that you and I are going to meet an amiable completion of this conversation.
She nods and goes back to her food. Make a perception check real quick.
While they're doing that, there are vegetarian options for anybody that, and if anybody requested it.
3 successes.
As Kinsey steps away, she can hear Annis muttering to herself, boot-licking monarchist.
Thank you, but boots aren't on the menu tonight.
Still working on how to make leather with the thistle cows. I'll let you know when I get it worked out.
Well,
Can you give me a chance die roll here, Kinsey? Anna stands up and says, I'm not ashamed of what I said, and I'll say it out loud. You're a bootlicker for these tyrants. Yes, tyrants. And one of them who sits right here, who sat on the throne when we seceded. If they had any decency as people, and one of them is refusing adamantly that the idea that she even is a person, they would agree to let us peacefully reform. But they will never agree to that because they are 3 tyrants interested in only their own power over others.
Actually, I believe what they're interested in is safety. Safety, which is what they've chosen to provide for the rest of the freehold. That safety thing that wasn't really happening with all of the bookbinders around in your free company. That amount of freedom sows a lot of discord. You do what is necessary.
To paraphrase a quote, those who would give up their essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither one.
I don't know about you, but I spent a decade burning in my own body, in a flask. I don't want to go back to that ever. That is what I would consider tyranny.
So you found yourself a new tyrant to serve, one that's more comfortable than the previous, because you're scared of what it means to live free as a person.
Ma'am, please. We're all here in a spirit of discussion. And honestly, this was one of the things I had hoped to talk about. I had tried to get everyone talking earlier, but Jack was trying to feel out where our compatriots were at this time. None of you even suggested your current position until now. This is a place where negotiation happens, and one of those things is communication. All of us are afraid of being taken back home. I don't think you want to go back.
Well, no.
And you agreed to join the Freehold and then the Free Company of your own volition, yes?
Yes, as a sovereign citizen of this country and of the world, I did make the free decision to join Royal Flush.
Absolutely. And if the board of directors had chosen an option that you did not agree with, would you have gone along with it?
No.
Even though that is, in fact, one of the things you agreed to by joining the Free Company. I've read your rules and regulations before this meeting. That's part of the board of directors. That's why there was a trial the other day. I believe I was in attendance.
Anna sighs and sits back to her food. Okay. Fair enough.
Basically, my goal here is trying to build some bridges and give people the option to come back if they want. We're not talking about forcing anybody back. And I'm not talking about sending everybody out to exile. Situation is complicated, and each individual person affected by this should have the right to be able to make a choice on whether they want to come back to the Freehold, leave Las Vegas, or stay and try and rebuild. I just want the options for people. And if there are people that decide they want to band together and create their own group with blackjack and alcohol, so be it. And I think that would be in our best interests to be on good terms with those organizations. But for now, we need to work on mending those bridges.
Thank you for communicating. Thank you for telling me how you feel. I appreciate it.
Okay, Kit, did you still want to do your conversation with Agatha?
Yeah, let's give it a try.
All right, and did you want to get involved too, Elliot? Because I remember you guys were talking about that.
I definitely would like to be there if that's okay.
All right, as you two head over to where Agatha is seated, you find her in the midst of a polite yet very chilly conversation with the director of Inhuman Resources, the beast Phoebe Glasser. She was the small mouse changeling who had sat with the board during the trial. As you approach, you hear the two exchanging very polite but pointed words regarding the free exchange of magic.
Good evening.
So,
I notice your drinks are empty, and I can't be having that at an event I'm hosting. I'd never hear the end of it. Uh, I'm going to say this. I have spent enough time hosting these guys. I know what Phoebe is drinking, and I have made drinks for the Monarch enough to know what they are, so I have their favorite drinks in hand.
Fair enough.
I'll make the roll if that would be effective in any way.
I don't think that's needed.
Okay.
The two of them look up from their conversation when Elliot arrives.
so not sure how to ask this, so I'm just gonna come out here. So, I know that there are there's quite a bit about the freehold. It's pretty much set in stone. But it would not. But I would be very surprised if there is no way to make adjustments to them, to the bylaws, constitution, whatever you want to call it. It's my question. How typical is it for a freehold to make adjustments as their situation changes?
Are you talking about, say, changing monarchs?
No, I'm talking something a bit more fundamental.
I think what he's talking about is the rules of the freehold, like when, say, the tithing system changed or other similar things. I'm sure that more than that has changed in the last 2 generations of kings and queens.
Yes, it does happen occasionally.
Okay.
So, I heard you say something earlier that really caught my interest, Agatha. You don't like the idea of these guys rejoining because you don't like the poisonous idea of democracy being part of the freehold, yes?
Astute and correct.
Absolutely. That is actually a very interesting point, and, I could see where that would cause conflict within there. But, again, I've got very little knowledge, but based on what I've heard, you were there. I was not. Are things better going on right now than they were before? Back during this point where all the conflict was happening? Are things going better within the freehold?
Agatha looks up at you and gives you a very pointed and terse no.
Oh, people seem to be in a pretty good place, other than, of course, the Spring Monarch issue, but I'm working on that.
Yeah, you would be correct if you would have been, if what you mean is the average courtier happier about their situation.
Well,
But happiness isn't the measure for success.
I
We
imagine stability is a pretty good one.
Stability, safety,
Absolutely.
acquisition of power.
Absolutely. And I would think that things that would prompt the assassination of a monarch would be pretty good things to avoid, honestly. And in fact, it's one of the reasons why I'm so eager to talk to you, because you are one of the only people who continued holding power since then, so you must have been doing a better job than every one of your contemporaries.
Agatha seems to perk up at the suggestion. I admit that we've only had a few prodigal sons and daughters, she says, giving Phoebe a side glance.
So, if you don't want them here, but things have been fine for the average person, you've managed to contain your power and honestly been doing an incredible job from everything my counterpart has told you. maybe you're right that they shouldn't rejoin. But I don't think anything these people have done deserves death either. So there's a puzzle.
Well, I didn't suggest killing them. I simply suggested exile.
Oh, Agatha, please. The wisest person in this room, and you're going to play exile isn't a death sentence. It was the third thing I was told when I joined this freehold.
Agatha looks up at Kit and smiles. I suppose you've been talking with him. He is your motley mate, after all. Yes, I admit it. If they were exiled and would leave the freehold of Lost Vegas and our lands, there is little chance that they would find somewhere safe from the predations of the kindly ones, whether in the hedge or with another freehold.
And I hate to say this, but if I recall correctly, one of the people who left was at some point a noble in your court. So that would cause some problems if they were to return as well, since I know Autumn is based on the magical power and knowledge. That could cause a lot of conflict. That seems really bad.
At this point, Phoebe bangs her small fist on the table, her ears fluttering, and says, I would never rejoin Autumn. You cannot make me.
I can totally understand that. See, this is the kind of thing. What I'm hearing here is that I showed up here with a lot of the wrong ideas, and I think everything I've been trying to do is not going to make anybody happy. But I don't think anyone did anything here worth dying over. All the people who did that, well, I might have shot a few of them. Well, Kit. And, you know, we did a lot of shooting, and honestly, that seems like enough. So, I guess the real question I have is, maybe it's done? You don't want them back. They don't want to come back. Why don't we just broker a peace agreement? Something that'll make you guys feel safe, since we know we got rid of all the bookbinders.
But you see there, it would be a problem.
This is why I'm here. I'm trying to learn some stuff. Unfortunately, I showed up like, what, 2 months ago? 3 months ago? Gosh, it's been a blur.
A peace agreement that would allow folks like her to live in Las Vegas alongside us, would also allow them to continue spreading their ideas. And their ideas have demonstrably failed and brought danger to all of us.
Mm-hmm. And
well,
okay,
thing is,
so
just to clarify, the danger was the bookbinders, right?
That's a part of it. A large number of them were malcontent enough with their lot in lives to attack. If they are, if anyone from Royal Flush is to be allowed to stay in Las Vegas, they must be willing to accept the yoke of servitude.
Well, that's interesting. You didn't want them, but you also... That's the thing, is I don't seem to understand what's a good way for you, because I know you don't think these people deserve to die. Because we killed all the ones who did that. I mean, we did. Everyone here in this room and everyone who's left was basically taken hostage. We're gonna finish the bookbinder's job for them?
Agatha sighs. You don't understand. You're far too young.
That's why I'm trying to ask questions.
She looks up at Kit. I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk over you.
Good.
Kit, since we spoke,
Yep.
and entered an agreement, would you say you have benefited?
Sorry, come again?
Since we have entered our agreement
Mhm.
that would allow you to remain a autumn courtier
Yes.
and even work your way up to one of our knights, would you say that you have benefited? It is a yes or no question.
I have benefited quite a bit in a number of ways within the freehold.
Yes, exactly. You accepted the wisdom of your betters, you bent your knee.
No. What I did was I recognized when someone else knew more about a situation than I did, and I took their advice. If your advice had proved counterproductive, I would have walked away. I am not submissive. I recognize expertise. That is all.
She grinned and says, "You don't understand it because you're too young. But
Okay.
what you are saying is what I am saying. You accept the expertise of the wise."
And I accept that you are wise because of the outcome of your advice. Now, that being said, these people do not have that benefit. All they have seen is tyranny from the freehold. And to their perspective, you are not an expert.
Lost Vegas has lost much of its power since the tithing system was removed.
And
I do not believe we should compromise and weaken ourselves further in order to court the favor of those who cannot recognize the authority of the great and the good.
do you recognize the importance of a parental figure?
Yes, of course.
And do you believe that your role as a monarch is a parental role?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Should a mother abandon their child because they're disobedient and run away?
It's very traditional for naughty children to be left in the woods in order to suffer the tender ministrations of a witch.
Great. But in
I
every
can't help notice we haven't done that in a really, really long time.
Okay, let me get to the point. So, long story short, I'm trying to make 2 points here. One, a parent will let their child deal with the consequences of disobedience, the natural outcome of things. And then when the child is sobbing from the consequences of their actions, welcomes them back and pats them on the head, hugs them, says, "Now, what did we learn from that?" They don't kick them out the door and say, "Too bad you ran away." Also, second point, I've been reading a lot lately, catching up on my history. And main thing that I have caught, the time period between World War I and II. What happened at the end of World War I? The German people were hit with a lot of levies, a lot of taxation. They were put into squalor. Because of that, things were ripe for them to be discontented. And they unified against a monster. Or sorry, with the monster. Now, something happened that caused enough discontent within the freehold that caused people to break away. And when the war is now over, we have the opportunity to either have a bunch of levies and punish them so they never do it again, or we modify things so they do not have a reason to do this again. And by they, I mean the people of the freehold, not these specific actors.
All right, roll presence plus sympathy, please.
Hi there. Can I throw some dice at that one to assist?
You said
If you wish.
presence plus what?
Empathy.
Empathy? Ooh, yeah. If you could give me some kind of assistance on that, please.
You got it. All right. So that's going to be 7 dice with the willpower. Hope you like these numbers, because these are the best ones you're going to get. Sorry.
Well, I'm not down to luck dice.
Yeah, that's a success, so you get 1 bonus die.
May I suggest grabbing some willpower out of the sock?
Yep. And do I get bonuses from my fancy clothes?
If you're wearing them, yeah. Those are social equipment.
Okay, and that was what, the 2...
In that case, before you roll, excuse me. 3 additional successes. I forgot to put my clothes on. My apologies.
Please wear clothing next time. I would very greatly appreciate it.
I'm sorry.
4
I've got
successes.
So much
For a brief moment, you think you can see anger in Agatha's eyes before she looks down at her plate for a solid 10 seconds, then looks back up at you and says, "Perhaps you're wiser than I estimated. I had thought perhaps summer was the correct court for you, but I am beginning to understand why you chose autumn."
He's been getting a lot of chance to cool down, and I've been surprised by a lot of things. That's all his work, by the way. The dinner tonight. I just did a little bit of cooking, but ain't much cooking to do on a steak.
Yep. Been raising the cattle, working on the ranch, studying.
Swords to plowshares, I suppose.
Yep. When we first landed here, it's been the time. It has been the season for action. Now that things are calming down, I can start working on what I want to do with myself. And I want things to grow.
Perhaps times have changed, and even among the lost, the great and the good are less needed. I have much to think on.
All right. So I think that dinner gets eaten by people, discussions are had. Do you guys have anything else you want to do before we get back to the negotiation table? Because I've run out of good ideas.
Right. And do you guys want to discuss anything amongst yourselves before we move on?
I think that would be a really good idea.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to be real straight with you guys. I thought that what we were coming here to do was to try and, like... But I get the feeling that if we do that, we are going to have more bodies on our hands than if we just let the war happen. Is the vibe I've been getting all evening.
Yeah, ever so slightly.
I don't think anyone in this room likes anyone else, and that's really aggravating. And also not having Spring here has been really rough. I gotta sort this thing out. By the way, we are so far away from anyone being able to overhear us by any means necessary. We own the Warren. There is a closet.
No, we went outside. And I am specifically we went outside where no one was around because one, we got a lot of VIPs around. I want to make sure that there's no one looking around do the trying to
Yeah.
do the thing. But also it's arranged. There's a lot of space we can get out of earshot.
Anyways, I think a peace treaty is actually pretty viable.
Yeah.
The terms are going to be harsh for Royal Flush. They're not in a great position to negotiate, but that might cool down everybody else here. And I don't think Will wants anyone back, and it sure as shit sounds like Agatha doesn't.
Leo seems amenable to whatever. He doesn't feel the need to murder everyone, at least.
Progress.
And I'm willing to bet Spring would be pretty fine. We've got a couple of good people with their heads on their shoulders running at things in Spring. I'm pretty sure we could sell it. There's going to be a couple hotheads, but those guys were here yesterday. So, want to go for the fucking brass ring, guys?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm in.
Yeah, I'll sit back and let you work your magic.
I'm gonna need you guys there with your rulers, because those are the hardest cells on the table.
You've got my axe.
You got
Oh,
my
you're
gun.
way too old. Yeah, there you go. There you go. I knew
You got my gun.
And well, I've got this bottle. And God, am I gonna need another one by the end of the evening. Hey, no matter what happens, this went way better than it was supposed to.
Yeah.
And hey, none of us got shot. By the way, Kenny, if I get shot right now, I'm going to die laughing out of character. Anyways,
You made everyone swear no violence.
so let's rock back inside and wind forward to the point where dishes are getting put away and we're rejoining the negotiations.
All right, things do seem to have cooled down significantly. The monarchs of Lost Vegas are being at least cordial to the royal board of Royal Flush.
Well, that's good to hear. I sit down at the table and say, well, I've had a lot of individual discussions since we last spoke, and honestly, I've been getting an education. Apparently, well, all of you know, I'm the youngest member of the Spring Court, and y'all have been incredible to me on both sides of this ladder. Both when I was welcomed into the court proper, and of course, my time assisting with dealing with bookbinders over at Royal Flush. And I've learned something very important. None of y'all like each other even kinda. And I think that my idea of uniting the Freehold and the Free Company was genuinely stupid.
At this point, Agatha raises a glass and says, "Here, here."
And for that, I would like to apologize to everyone. However, I've also learned a few other things. For one, that nobody actually wants either part of you. Sorry, none of you actually want really any significant violence done, and nobody here's really done anything worth getting shot over. So I guess the question is, was this meeting entirely pointless? And I don't think so either, because I would like to suggest a purpose for the meeting going forward. A piece of paper rolls out onto the table. There has never been formal conflict between anyone in Royal Flush and the Freehold of Lost Vegas. Every bit of conflict was done by people who are now dead, and may they all rot in hell.
Here.
With that on the table, and in pursuit of not allowing those kind of conflicts to allow, say, a Winter Court noble to be infiltrated by the either bookbinders or their up-and-coming replacements, or, say, someone joining the board of directors, some amount of cooperation would prevent any of these things occurring. If there's anything I've learned, the problem was always the conflict. That paranoia, that fear, lets our actual enemies in. So let's end the conflict. Tonight. Everybody who's ever drawn on a weapon against the other is gone, barring two notable exceptions. And I think we already resolved that at the table tonight. So let's find a way to coexist. Royal Flush burned down, but I understand they have insurance on the building. There's less members, but there have been more people and there have been less people. And let's be honest, a lot of the people who are gone were oathbreakers. They weren't members of either court. And we need to really start checking that. I'm going to have to ask some questions after this meeting. I've learned a lot of stuff. I'm sorry. So let's work on negotiations. I understand there's a lawyer here, and I understand we have some very wise people here. Do we need to call anyone else in for some expertise? Because I'm going to be real with you. If you guys expected me to get a law degree since I got back, I have not pulled that particular rabbit out of the hat. Is this something we could at least discuss? I would like to roll whatever dice you'll let me roll at this.
I would like to assist.
Yeah, I would like to see if I can resist or assist.
All right, this will be presence plus persuasion, please.
Thank God.
Nope, I'm not touching that.
You got any dice?
I have one dice because I can't go below 0.
2 successes from Lex. All right. I'm gonna hold over my willpower in case I needed to re-roll this, but that's got me up to 13 with my close and all my stats behind it.
Oh shit, my clothes. Hold on.
Will you please stop forgetting your social equipment, everyone?
It's been a couple weeks. We're doing our best.
2
I
additional
know.
successes.
2 more successes, so 4 successes total. All right. Whew. That's 7. I'm gonna stick with that one, please.
That's a lot of successes. So, across the table, the two groups eye each other. Agatha speaks up. I think your ideas are foolish and that you are wayward. But I would be remiss as a queen and a mother if I didn't let you make your own choices and your own mistakes. If peace is what you want, I will negotiate.
I turn if prompting to the person who specifically asked for this. God, what was the tech person's name? Help me out here. Someone else.
And it's Loveless.
I turn over to Annis, smiling. Smiling as if prompting her to respond. After all, none of us really were happy with the idea of trying to merge 2 incompatible groups.
The Forest Witch looks genuinely shocked. I truly didn't think that any of you would be willing to negotiate for actual peace between the groups.
Nobody asked. I've been hosting you guys all week and nobody talked to me about anything.
Leo clears his throat and says, I too would be willing to sign for peace if that is what you would like. He gives Will the eye. What do you think, King Wisp? Will clicks his marble fingers against his forearm. I've got stipulations.
Beautiful. That's what negotiation's about.
Moggins.
You're
Morgan,
sorry.
Moggins approaches with a few of the Grimalkin servants. Aye, lad, what did you need?
You're kind of a part of this. You're the one that manages the day-to-day of the freehold. You have a say in this.
He grins and says, boy, I'm a butler.
Yeah. And who else interacts with the members of the freehold that haven't joined a court more than you, more than those that you've trained?
It is true they go through my office at quite a clip.
Yeah.
You think we can
who
find a
else-
way forward for them?
I think so.
So let's talk Turkey. You were
So
talking.
at this,
Sorry.
didn't mean to interrupt you. At this point, one of the Grimalkins, a pure black cat with a white snout wearing a tuxedo, hops up on the table. He clears his throat and begins to speak. Meow, 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 Meow. This goes on for several minutes.
I sit at rapt attention.
All right. Bear with me just a moment.
I love this fucking game so much. Oh, I love this game so much. Missed you guys.
All right, manipulation plus expression.
Wait, is the cat rolling? Is the Grimalkin rolling?
I think he is. There's no reason why he can't.
I mean, yeah, but like if it, I mean, if he's trying to get convinced, do you guys speak Grimalkin? Is that just a me thing?
All right. After the cat has finished his speech and hopped down, most of the people in the room appear to be completely baffled. Morgan seems to be touched, wiping a tear from his eye as he goes over to pat the Grimalkin. And Annis Lovelace has broken down into complete tears.
I knew I should have had somebody taking minutes for this meeting.
Yeah.
That was a failure on my part. We'll never make that mistake again.
I love that quote from Thomas Paine. I can't tell you how many times I've read The Rights of Man. She cries.
I note down the individual and decided we're going to have a talk with our feline orator at some point. Nonetheless, I'm sorry. I got swept away by that. Do we need any additional experts it's brought in? I'm sure that no one would be against us having our best and brightest here for negotiation. Sorry. Kenzie?
I was just going to ask Muggins to translate briefly. For those of us not blessed with Grimalkin tongue.
Yes.
Moggins gives you the brief gist that the Grimalkin in question was talking extensively about the inalienable right to freedom that all men have, and women and cats, and that simply being kidnapped by a monster doesn't remove that from you.
I bend down to shake that cat's hand.
He likewise shakes hands. He has a brief, hushed conversation with Moggins, who nods before he goes over to the royal flush side of the table as negotiations begin.
Should we have the courser and the jack catch here?
At this point, there's a couple of people who definitely need to be here for negotiations. I need to make some phone calls. Who all do we think Inc. needs to be here?
The actual writing of the treaty is not something that you need to be present for.
Absolutely.
The monarchs and the board gives you a list of people that should be brought in.
And we politely make our excuses after calling those people and giving them explicit invites to attend the meeting.
And putting them under the oath as well.
Go on.
At which point, I think we're going to make ourselves scarce for the evening. Is one of the people listed Doc Tallboy?
Tallboy being a resource that both the Freehold and Free Company took advantage of, yeah, he'd be one of the ones that they need, as would the Jack Ketch, the office of the courser, etc.
All right, so most of the NPCs I can think of to go bother. Hey, you guys. We've got we've got some evening to kill, and I don't think we're gonna be helpful at this meeting.
Yep. So, one of the things that I want to do before we move on, I want to make sure that the Courser and the Jack Catch meet each other.
Making that introduction personally.
Yes.
All right, so you want to do that after?
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, it takes a few calls, and of course, some time. But after about 20 minutes, Lucerne Bridgewater arrives, and another 10 minutes or so longer, Kelly Crennel and the Jack Catch arrives. The stitching on her face pulls a little bit against itself in shock when she sees that you've actually got a peace treaty in the works. She whistles at Kit and says, "What did you say?"
That's a good question. I was just playing it by ear.
Kelly elbows Kit and says, "Well, you've done a good job. And if you ask me, I think you should be polishing up your armor, Mr. Knight. I'm not the one who makes the decisions, but I would be shocked."
Yeah, Agatha was a bit opposed to this at first, but I mentioned something about parents and history, and that seemed to affect her.
She whistles again and says, "Well, no wonder. You hit a woman where it hurts. And you said you didn't know?"
Didn't know? What don't I know?
She comes closer to you to speak conspiratorially, waving your motley end to listen.
I join easily.
Agatha was Fey Touched, who got kidnapped by the Lord of Tales when she went to look for her missing children.
Oh.
To my knowledge, none of them ever survived, and she never met any of them.
I see.
Oh. Yeah.
Shit.
Oh, I feel like an asshole now.
Well, it worked, didn't it?
I only went that route because she brought parents and stuff up first.
Hey. It's the thing you two have in common, apparently. Also, nice to see you again, and Courser. Have you met the Jack Ketch? I don't know how much your circles interact.
Lucerne comes up, the lure on her head shining brightly. She gives Kelly a toothy smile and says, "I don't think I've ever had the occasion to hunt a fetch. This is Gus," she says, waving to empty air. The empty air waves back.
At this point, Kenzie holds out her hand and does a secret handshake both with Lucerne and with Gus.
Kelly seems mildly intrigued, but not especially hostile.
So,
Glad to get the two toughest folks I know together in one room.
Yep.
Y'all have been an inspiration, especially during all these times of tribulation.
I'm not going to beat around the bush with you two. I figured the two of you meeting, at the very least, you guys could exchange contact information. You guys might be able to help each other out. I was hoping you guys might actually get along and be able to work together a bit more consistently. But that's all up to you. I just wanted to make the introduction.
Yeah, make a manipulation plus socialize roll, please.
Would you like a support on that one? Also, remember
Please.
you're wearing clothes.
Yes, okay. I do have.
What
clothes
about
on.
you, Kinsey? Do you want to help?
Yes, I would love to help.
And are you also wearing clothing?
I am wearing clothing.
Special clothing that you paid money for.
4 successes. There you go. Excuse me while I get shown up.
Did I just
Okay.
get 10 successes?
Okay.
Okay, roll the 14 dice bonus, and if you fail, it's going to be a dramatic failure.
I just want you to know that if you don't use a willpower to re-roll if something goes bad, I will hate you forever.
So 14
Plus whatever your
plus-
result.
plus the 1 plus the clothing. That's 18?
If you fuck this up,
These two are going to draw knives.
That's 4 successes. Out of 18 dice, I only got 4 successes.
that's the biggest dice pool you're probably ever going to see. Outside of a true fae trying to beat your face in.
Jeez.
I've seen that particular dice pool more than once.
Boy. Okay, but yeah, 4 successes. That's good.
How did I get a double exceptional? Holy shit. Okay, sorry, I'm done.
Kelly looks over at Lucerne and says, so, what was your best kill? Lucerne says, well, she points up to the lure. Got a bookbinder to come into a dark alley before I bit his leg off. Kelly nods. I cut a fetch's throat with my handkerchief once. The two immediately seem to have hit it off and begin having a conversation, heading off towards the table.
Okay.
I love this. So there's one other negotiation we had on the books tonight. What are we doing with the rest of our night?
Yeah, we do have some time left.
Uh,
Want to go fuck around in the hedge and start selling steaks?
You guys want to do that?
you got the stakes cut already?
Yeah.
Well, why don't we go do that auction you were talking about then?
Kenny, are you up for it?
Actually, I had booked more time for this, so I don't really have much ready. I'm sorry, but I think we're actually going to have to call it early tonight.
All right.
Is that okay with everyone?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good session.
Good session.
Yeah.
It's great to see everyone again. I know we were away for a while, but we're coming back, and we hope that you who are catching up in YouTube land and also everyone who made it here tonight, I'm glad to have you here.
Yep. Sorry that we're ending early, but I prepared a lot of material, and I didn't expect it to go this well, considering our players were trying to negotiate peace between two groups that truly hate each other. That being said, I do thank you once again for coming to our season premiere. We're going to be back again every week. There is going to be an off week on the 27th, just so that doesn't catch anyone off guard. But I will be tweeting about it closer to, just in case anyone needs a reminder. Good news that week, though. I like to remind everyone about Onyx Path Game Night, and Onyx Path Game Night is the last Friday of the month, which is the 26th. So that will be a good time. So before we end off tonight, let's go over everyone's aspirations.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, I'll start if that's okay. I
Yep.
think I definitely took a step towards becoming a winter knight.
I would say so.
I think we stepped and cleared broker peace.
Yeah.
I think that I at least took a step towards gaining friends and allies.
I'll give you that.
We definitely jumped in head first.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not passed any tests, so.
I don't know. I would say this was quite a test.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay,
Congratulations,
so that's me.
by the way, on your almost certain knighthood.
All right, who wants to go next?
Go for it.
Resolve the freehold conflict as best as I can. I think I'm going to take a clear on that one.
Yep.
Be a gracious host. I think I did a pretty good job.
Yep.
Support my allies' efforts tonight. Was I backing you guys up? I was trying to be supportive when I wasn't
Yeah.
eating
No, you
half
did
the
great.
session. Sorry, guys. Restore the rest of Mimsatch. I could do a bunch of bullshit saying how this is setting up for an easier time searching, but honestly, I made no effort towards this. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I can't give you that one, unfortunately.
Play Kingmaker. I was hoping to have one of the spring courtiers here to just be kind of helping set them up, but I had nobody from spring here, so unless you're going to take the fact that I was here and made myself a pretty big player in the general court politics thing, I don't think I've got a justification for that one.
I mean, I think I can give you that one, especially considering that you have saw the grim necessity of a spring monarch in more ways than one today.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay. And so after the previous session, a lot of my aspirations cleared. But so the first one I have is to stop the rattling. I don't believe I made any progress on that.
No, I can't give you that one, unfortunately. Wait a second, actually. I would say reuniting these two in peace would be a step toward that, yes.
Okay. And I don't believe I made any steps towards finding my fetch.
No, I can't give you that one for sure.
Could I do a bullshit sell?
You can try.
We just got all of the resources for tracking down fetches put behind you. You just got yourself a certain amount of prestige within Autumn itself to get the strength that you need. And you also learned that when it comes to fate-touched people, you've got a really great resource in the form of the Monarch, who you've just rebuilt a relationship with.
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. That's a very good point.
Also, I just introduced the Courser and the Jack Catch. Okay, and I like to say that so my last aspiration is feeding the people, and I believe I have made a step towards that.
Yep. And considering your performance today, I'm wanting to award you specifically a bonus beach.
Sweet. Thank you.
Right. Well, I do want to thank everyone else for coming out again. Thank you very much for coming out to support us. We always appreciate it. I hope you guys had a good time and see you next week.